Hello, 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 and welcome to By the Fifth Podcast. It's your boy Roger Trent, but you already know you could call me Tico. What's up? Listen, today I'm so excited to have a good friend of mine in here. She's in the Nashville market. And she's been in the business for quite some time, and I know she's got stories for days. Anytime you've been in this business that long, you're going to have some stories. But I'm excited to talk to her. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome Tiffany Flowers. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm doing good this afternoon. I hope you're doing well too.
Good. So, how you feeling today? Are you feeling like excited or, because we've been trying to get this thing worked out to have you on the show. How you feeling?
I'm excited, a little nervous, but happy that it's the weekend.
I know that's right. Yes. So, Tiffany, tell us how you first got into the business of property management.
Okay, well, a long time ago, 15 years. 15 years ago, I want to say I kind of fell into it. I had left retail. I had done that for a few years and was just trying to kind of figure out what was next. And then the apartment community that I was living at, I happened to run into one of the young ladies that worked in the office, and we started a conversation. She said they were hiring, stopped by. I did, and here I am.
Oh, wow. And how many years has that been?
15 years ago.
15 years.
Mhm.
Wow. It's funny to me because a lot of people start like that. You know what I mean? Like I brought in somebody who she walked into my office, Layla, and she had that personality and I was like, "You ever think about doing this?" But I think it's a good transition from retail into property management because of the personality, customer service. What do you think?
I totally agree with that. There were quite a few things that I had to learn when I started in this industry, but already being in retail, interacting with people that you don't know, you meet a new face every day. That part of it, that transition, that was very easy. So it was like a perfect fit for me.
Mm. So, what do you like the most about being in property management?
Oh, there's so many things I could list, right? I would probably say the interaction with residents, the interaction with people that are looking for a new home. I really just do like talking with people, helping people, hearing their stories. So that part, I would say that's really enjoyable for me.
Okay. It's funny when you said that. I thought about an old movie that used to be out.
Uh-oh.
I think it was called The Elephant Man, maybe, but it was a boy who had this disease where his face was,
Mm.
reconfigured, and he wrote a poem, and he said, the part that stuck out to me was the thing that I love the most is the sun beating in my face. And then he went through all of these other things. And he said, the things that I hate the most is the sun beating in my face. And then he listed other things. Sometimes the very thing that you love can be the thing that just drives you nuts, right?
That is true too. That is very true. Yes.
Oh gosh. So what is it that drives you nuts about property management?
Oh, that list is probably kind of long as well. Um, it's kind of a good thing. It's a compliment on one hand, and then it's kind of a negative on another. But people really think that we can solve all of their problems. And so, again, on one hand, I'm flattered that you think that I have these superpowers and I can solve everything. If I could, Lord knows that I would. But again, that's the downside to it. People can't think that you can fix everything. And there are just a lot of things that are out of our control. We do the best that we can, but some things we can't change. So that would be, like I said, it's the good and the bad with that.
Tiffany, I believe that you can fix anything. I have been to
Well,
your
thank you.
office. Listen, you're in
Thank you.
there, you're running around, you're working. She grabs the phone, she's talking to people while they're sitting there. You know, she's handling problems. Like she's really juggling this whole thing. So I can get why people feel like, and not only that, but you're a good listener. Someone's talking to you, and you'll sit and you'll listen, and you have empathy. So that kind of puts it in a way like, you know what, I feel like she can handle this. You know what I mean?
I
Not
try.
not just have the maintenance tech come out and fix my lights, but I believe she can also help me with my life's problems. Is that what you get?
I get that on occasion, yes. But you know what? I just try to remind myself that sometimes people just need someone to listen to. So if I can give them, 3 minutes of my time and they can get their story out and then they can walk out the door and feel a little bit lighter, that 3 minutes is worth it. So,
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you, when you've been in the business that long, and I was managing properties for almost 25 years. And I can tell you in that time span, you've cried, you've laughed, you've wanted
mhm,
to wring somebody's neck, like you like every emotion, anything you could think of happens in that span of time, does it not?
yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. If you don't know yourself, like you said, you will go through every emotion with yourself. You will go through every emotion with different residents. So, yeah, what you said, it's 100% true.
So having said that, how do you keep balance with that, right? One thing that I seen that's a sign of a good leader is that they're even kill. You know what I mean? They don't get too high and they don't get too low, so people can follow them. How do you balance all of that? How do you not flip out on somebody that's one came in your office when that's what the human side of you wants to do?
Right.
How do you keep all of that together and say, you know what, I have a job to do. I still got to do this thing, either way it goes.
Well, number one, just having a filter. If it's not someone coming into the office that we're dealing with face to face, it can literally be through emails and through telephone calls. So, like, if someone sends you an email and they're having an issue and you can tell that they're really not happy, you've probably spoken with them before on the phone or in person, then you get that email. It's so easy to just go ahead and start typing and you type the first thing that comes to your mind, you put it on the keyboard and you hit send. And then after you've hit send, now you go back and you think about what you sent and you read it and you're like, I shouldn't have done that. So for me, I just try to make it a habit of I'm never going to do anything or say anything that I have to go back to a resident or a potential, new resident and apologize for. That's just not how I operate. So yeah, just having a filter, that's number one, and just knowing that whatever I do or whatever I say, that's what I mean. And it's not something that I'm ever going to have to apologize for. Um, you, I think one of the sayings that runs through my head when you're dealing with people, you want to be fair, firm, and consistent. So if you can
Mm.
manage to do all those things together, you can keep a level head, you can keep your cool. Now, after they leave, you may have to go close the door and woosah,
Yes.
for the next 10, 15 minutes. But
Absolutely.
in that moment when you're dealing with someone that's not pleased with you or whatever the situation is, just having a filter and knowing that, whatever I say to you, that's, I'm being genuine. I really do. If it's something where I'm needing to show that I care and concern, that's what I'm going to do. But I never want to have to apologize for anything. And then I think that just goes back to I try to live by the golden rule. I treat people how I want to be treated. So even if someone comes in and they're using profanity, I'm not going to give that back to them because, first of all, I don't want you doing that to me. So those are some of the things that I try to keep in mind, every day when I'm interacting with different people.
That is so good. I love that. It was fair. What was it? Consistent,
Fair, firm, and consistent.
firm, and consistent. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Oh man, that's a a great motto to have and to remind yourself of,
Mhm.
right? What is
Yes, some days are more difficult than others, but yeah, that I try to remind myself of that every day.
so, I've you can't work in this business that long without having some level of success, right? I mean, obviously you've been successful in this, for quite some time.
Mhm,
And why don't you walk us through? Now, I've worked at properties where I've managed, 10 people, and I've worked at properties where it was just me. And sometimes it was just me because of default, you know what I mean? Or it might have just
mhm,
been that small of an office. Um, People tend to think that you've got it easy. All you're doing is sitting there looking at a computer. Like, walk us through
mm,
what a typical day is like. Because I'm going to tell you, Tiffany, the audience here, yeah, we have a lot of people in the property management, but we also
mhm.
have on By the Fifth those who we call flies on the wall. Those are people who
Okay.
are not in the industry at all, but they come here for the stories, or they come here just to hear the knowledge. Walk us through what it's like for you to manage an office. Say it's a time that you're by yourself.
Mhm. Well, I'll say this. I'll start with this. When I first started, just a few years ago, I remember when there would be times when it was almost 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever time the office would close. And we will have completed, whatever we were needing to get done that day. And it may be 30 minutes left in the day, 15 minutes of the day. And we would just start sitting there, kind of twiddling our thumbs, wondering like, when is the clock going to strike so we can leave? That's no longer a true statement. It never stops, and I think the reason why that is different now, from 15 years ago, the advances with technology now, it used to be, when I started, not everybody was going online. They still had magazines in the grocery stores, with all of the apartment communities in those little free magazines. And that's how people would find out about us. They'd pick one up, call the phone number on there, come in and visit us. So that was pretty much, how we interacted with people. That's the type of, traffic we had throughout the day. But now with the internet and the advances of technology, you may have, 4 or 5 phone calls, within an hour, but you've also got 10 to 15, maybe even 20 emails coming in where someone has seen you online and, they've clicked the button, to say that they're interested in your community. So just that by itself, I feel like that's what has really changed our industry as far as, what we do on a day-to-day basis. People have access to us 24 hours a day. They can go online 24 hours a day. Of course, the telephone always works 24 hours a day, but
Mhm.
we're not there. But when we do get back the next day, now you also have people that you have to call back, along with people that are walking into your front door and you're needing to assist them. So yeah, there's never a dull moment. Technology has increased, our reach out to potential residents. But yeah, every day is different. Kind of like what you said with the emotions, you can go through all of these different emotions in this industry. Same thing with what you have to help people with. You somehow turn into their banker. You teach people, not many people write checks anymore, but you're, showing people how to write their check to pay their rent. You are also being a school counselor. You'll have, maybe if you have children in your community, they're coming in and whatever it is they need, they may tell you they're hungry or they're locked out of their apartment. You're doing that. Um, you are fixing things literally. Of course, our wonderful maintenance staff, they're fixing things constantly, but we're the front line when people have something that needs to be replaced or fixed. They're telling us all the details so we can tell that to our maintenance technicians so they can take care of their issue. But yeah, the list can just go on and on and on of all the different things that we do day to day.
Wow. Wow. I
Yeah.
That's such a good point because I didn't really think about the 24 hours of
Mhm.
availability. You saying that
Yes.
really made me think because when I first came into the business, the internet wasn't that at all. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was still new and fresh and all of that. But yeah, everything was, like you said, by a booklet that you picked up, or something of that manner. They will come out to see an apartment. And if they missed you, you know what I mean? Yeah, the email was there, but we had dial up. So it wasn't like it
Right.
wasn't like today
Mhm.
where you got 30,000 emails in the morning or at night.
Mhm.
How do you how do you detach from that, right? Because
Mhm.
you can leave work feeling like I still have so much to do and emails are still popping off. And if your phone
Right.
is connected to that email, good lord. Like how do you detach from it? This podcast is being brought to you by Apartment Community Functions. If you need an event, let us know. We can handle it. After all, we evented it. Check us out on apartmentcommunityfunctions.com.
I think just like with many things in life, you try your best to set boundaries. And, those boundaries, I just kind of look at them as guidelines, but those are the goals, that I'm trying to, or goals, or what I'm trying to achieve, with like when I leave work, it's there. When I come back, it will still be there. But it's difficult. I mean, it really is. What we do, it's not like we work on an assembly line where if I'm gone one day, there's still three other people beside me
Mm-hmm.
that can take on, whatever my role is in that assembly line. And when you come back, everything's done. You don't have to play catch up. But with us, just like we were saying, 24-hour access to the internet, people being able to get, in touch with us, that's a little different. So when you are away, you know that there's going to be a lot to come back to. But I think, like I said, just setting boundaries, just simple things that you can do every day. Unfortunately, sometimes with what we do have to bring our work home with us. So when there are occasions when I do have to bring work home with me, I always set a time that I'm going to stop doing this work because there are other things that I need to do while I'm at home as well. Or, maybe you're involved with other activities that you have commitments with as well, too. But I think just like the time boundary, saying that, after work, if I have to do more, this is the time that I have allotted for that. And when that time's up, you're done and you'll start over again tomorrow.
That's good. That's good. It is because it is hard to detach. And I like what you said as far as giving yourself a time limit and saying, "Hey, at this time,
Mhm.
it's done." Tomorrow I'm just gonna have
Yep,
to pick
it's
it
hard.
up. And
Mhm.
it's tough when you're going and going and going, right? I remember working on the beach in Hawaii on vacation on my computer at the bar where I got the game
Yes.
on. Hawaii, the game comes on, the football game comes on at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm
Mhm.
there with my laptop, the television. You know what I mean? People are talking to me. It was just like so much going on, and in my head I'm like, I'm supposed to be on vacation, let alone I'm getting also the message
Yes.
from my family like, hey, we're on vacation.
Mhm.
So that detaching is real.
Yes, it is. And I think too, just having, a good support system. You're not always going to make best friends with the people that you work with, but if you do become close with them, that's always a bonus. So I think just having a support system or having someone that understands, what you do and where you're coming from, just being able to speak to that person and them just listening and that they know what you're talking about, that's really helpful too. So I would say to people like if you don't have that person that you can reach out to and just vent if you need to or ask advice, find that person that you trust because it is very helpful to be able to just kind of let all of that go at the end of the day if it has been one of those really tough days for you.
That's good. That's good. I
Mhm.
love that. Having that support system, that team, being able to delegate. When I first went into management, even though I had a team, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to do myself because I felt like it would get done right. You know what I mean? And I was passionate about it, right? Like this is what I do, And so just grinding and grinding it, but there was a lot of stuff that I could have taken off my plate. I learned that later, of course, right? But in the beginning, it was just like I was trying to do it all. And this industry, or any industry for that matter, if you do too much like that, your body is going to break down, right?
Yep, your mind will tell you when it's too much, and your body can do the same as well too. So yeah, trying to find that balance, and you really have to work at it every single day, I think.
Yes, yes. What are some things that you do to keep healthy and all of that?
Oh, wow. Again, something you have to work at every single day, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Um, so way back when I started doing this, we had like a little mini fridge in our office. So we would put drinks in there for like residents and prospects that would come in. We also had like a little, well, basically, we had like a little refreshment area. And it was just, out there in the open. So, from time to time, we would go over to the little refreshment area and we would get us a little snack. Same thing with the drinks. And then also, one thing I think that's really cool about what we do, we work with a lot of contractors and different vendors. So they were always feeding us, and especially around like the holidays. You can get some
Yes.
really good food. And again, that's people love food, right? And usually
Mhm.
brings a smile on people's faces. So yeah, so we would always have food that was around us. So back then, I was not. I'm not going to say I'm healthy right now, but it was way different back then. But it's just because everything was so accessible to us. It was full of sugar, it was full of caffeine.
Yes.
All the stuff that you don't need but tastes wonderful. So yeah, so I wasn't good at that. I was not good at that. And then one day I'm showing an apartment and we're walking, along the little pathway. And when I get to the apartment, when I tell you I felt like I was going to pass out on the floor because I was so out of breath,
Oh.
yes, it was horrible. And I was embarrassed because I'm trying to talk to these people and I can't catch my breath. And then that's when I knew I was like, I need to do something different. So again, I don't claim to be the healthiest person, but I want to be able to have my breath when I'm talking to people. So after that happened, me and one of my most favorite people, one of my favorite coworkers, one of my best friends, my sister, we started doing more activities together, to be active, and we really, really noticed a difference. But again, the health part of it, you have to work at it every day. But what we do, sometimes we sit down for hours at a time. Sometimes we may show, I think one time, I think the most apartments I showed in 1 hour may have been like 5 apartments.
Mm.
So, you may be sitting down for a while. You may just be running constantly in and out the door, trying to rent apartments so people have a place to live. But yeah, so I can't say that I just do one thing specifically to try to stay healthy, but I try to do activities outside of work that will allow me to catch my breath when I'm talking to people so they don't think I'm getting ready to pass out and they're going to have to perform CPR because that would be horrible. Horrible. Yes.
That's great. That's great. And I know, you shared your transformation and I brought that up because I thought that was so awesome because at
Mhm.
work it is very easy, with you got donut day, you know what I mean? And you got coffee and you got meetings back to back and people are bringing in all types of pastries and who's turning down the
Mhm.
pastry? I'm not, you know
Nope.
what I mean?
Not me. Nope.
So it, how to keep that health and keep your heart going right and like you said, being able to keep your breath and all of that, it all makes a
Mhm.
difference at the end of the day when you're working so hard, right? So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think
Mhm.
that's going to help a lot of people, you know what I mean? Because you did it, and they can do it too.
Mhm.
Yes.
Work in progress. We're all a work in progress.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my brother, my older brother Malvin, he is so calculated, but he gave me these Excel sheets, and like I grade myself every year, every month, based on my goals and stuff. Well, I said that, but he was like, "Yeah, I heard that you do that." He was like, "I'm going to send you a Excel spreadsheet so you can really track it." You know what I mean? And so I got this track sheet, man. This got everything on there from my goals to my
Okay.
working out to my
Mhm.
business stuff, finance, everything. and it makes you look at yourself and say, am I BSing myself? Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Am I, am I deceiving myself? I'm like, oh, I got an A for this month, but did you really? So I love the
mhm.
fact, for me, it helps me stay on track. And with anything, as far as whether it's work or just trying to stay healthy while being in an environment that supplies me with unhealthy food all the time, right?
Oh, gosh, but it's so good. It tastes so
Oh,
good.
yes.
But yeah.
Yes. Yes. So tell me this. You've been in this business for 15 years. I know you got a story for us. What is something that has happened that either blew your mind, that you could not believe, or that made you laugh? Tell us a good story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we've probably got thousands of stories. And maybe some of them I've actually blacked out because I don't ever want to relive them. I don't know. It's possible. Um, I think some of the favorite ones are like when it has to deal with like some of our residents and like the families and things. I remember one year during one of the holidays, we had a holiday slash Christmas party, and one of our wonderful maintenance technicians, he dressed up as Santa Claus. So we were all just shocked, first of all, that he dressed up as Santa Claus. But we had like different games going on. We were giving out gifts to the kids. So it was really, really just like fun to see all these kids having such a great time jumping on top of Santa Claus. And then by the end of the night, Santa Claus was like, I'm never doing this again. Because those kids, he was like, I'm done. I quit. That's it. So yeah, their excitement leads people to want to quit what they're doing
Yes.
because they're having so much fun. But I like seeing stuff like that. We've had other coworkers that have dressed up as the Easter Bunny
Oh,
before.
wow.
So again, people love stuff like that. I think, for residents, just being able to see us in a different light, besides, coming in and talking to us about, if their rent's going to be late or, whatever their issues are, just having like that sense of humor, that's what's always just like really exciting. So anything that has to do with laughter, that's probably going to be one of my favorite stories. So yeah, the kids are great. I guess one about me that's kind of embarrassing, but it happened. It's whatever. I fell down the steps once at work. So,
Oh. Oh, no.
so yeah. So again, you think about like laughing and stuff. It's like we're all human. We're all human. Thank God I didn't hurt myself, but we all laughed really hard
Oh my
about that.
gosh.
And so I guess saying with that too, watching people on camera in the fitness room when they maybe have a mishap with the treadmill, those are always good ones too. Yep, those are good.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. That's hilarious. Something that
Hmm.
you said that I love is the spontaneity of your staff to have fun and to do something different in a day. And I think that's important in every workplace, to have some type of spontaneity, because everything can be so mundane day after day. It's the same thing, problems.
Yeah.
And I had someone on here who used to be a maintenance tech, and now he's
Yeah.
like a number one songwriter. But he talked about how when he was a maintenance tech, that the way he put it, he said, our job is a negative job in a way, because people
Mhm.
come to us only when they have a problem, you know and I never thought about it like that. And so he was getting problems on a constant basis. This doesn't work, this doesn't work, can you come because this doesn't work. And I said, man,
Mhm.
I never really thought about it like that. So when you have that on a day-to-day basis, I love the fact that you said, somebody just came in dressed up like this or dressed up like that. What are
Mhm.
some good ideas like that you could do for your staff, like for the managers who are listening, and their office right now, everybody's been stressed and aggravated, maybe, occupancy may be low, whatever. What are some good ideas to kind of liven up that office and have some spontaneity?
I would say it's probably not about the big things. It's more about, for me, I think about the small things that you do, every day to show people that you care. Now, of course, yes, it's great to have like a big celebration dinner. If we've, reached this milestone where now all of the apartments have been renovated and we're having a celebration dinner. That, I mean, I enjoy that stuff too. But I think it's more about the small things that you do every day for people, that keeps their morale up and it keeps them going. Just trying to find out different things, what, your staff likes, just small things, just really, really small things. It could be something as simple as, say, there's a favorite pen that they like to write with. And they were like, darn it, I left my pen in one of the apartments. I don't know where I left it. And then the next day you come in with a whole box of pens for them, their favorite pens.
Mm.
It's just those little small things that let people know that you're listening and you're paying attention. And when you continuously do those small things, those add up to something big. And I think those are the things that stand out to people.
That's great. That is great. And the other thing that I love that you said was not taking yourself too seriously, right? I mean, falling down the stairs. I mean, that could turn into a very
It could have
negative.
been bad. It could have been
Yeah.
bad.
I mean, the fact that you're okay, thank God for that, right? But there's also a negative thing that could go with it, like, oh, of course I fell down the stairs. This is just the most horrible, you know what I mean? You could go down that road, right?
Right.
But to laugh at yourself and to you just have fun with it and go on, I think that's important too.
Yep, it is. Like I said, it's the little things that you do daily that add up to something big. But yeah, having a sense of humor and being able to laugh at things, it will definitely make your day a lot better.
Where do you get that from? Where does that come from to be able to laugh in those situations?
I, as silly as this sounds, I think I'm really just a goofball at heart. Like I love laugh. I literally love to laugh. I love to smile. It's just something down inside of me. I don't think I can't remember not ever being that way. Um, but again, I think it's just something that's always been inside of me. And I think everybody has some of that in them. It's just, I think being able to be in a space where you also feel safe and know that, you can be yourself and still be professional and still conduct business. But I think you have to be in a space that you feel safe and comfortable to be able to, share that with other people. So I think that's important too.
That's good. Oh man, that's good stuff. Before we end this, there's a thing going around the internet that it's
Oh
got.
no, the internet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The internet. There has been a post that has really gained traction, and the post says rent increase should be illegal if you're not doing any upgrades to the residence.
Okay.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? Now, there's so many comments on this. Like, when you
Yeah.
hear that, what do you think?
I think it really just depends on where you want to take the conversation, right? Because there's so much that goes into that. I get what people are attempting to say, with the posts like that. They feel that, they're paying X amount of dollars, but they don't feel that there's a value that they receive for that. So I get that. That's just normal. But I think what'll happen when people make comments like that, you really sit there and you think about, do they really know what goes in to running a business? Because at the end of the day, it's still a business.
Yes,
There are people, there are groups, that own these buildings, they own these properties. It's still a business. So from a resident, I get it because I'm a resident too right
mhm,
now. Yeah, you want to feel like whatever you're paying for, you know, you think the value is there.
right.
If you don't think the value is there, you have choices, to look elsewhere. Maybe there is something else that fits you better. But I think that's just the conversation that people need to have with themselves. If they're unhappy with where they're at, what can they do to change it? Or, where could they move to where they feel like they're getting that value? So, yeah, I get it. But hey, here's the same thing. When I go to the grocery store and I buy a loaf of bread, it's the same bread, but now it costs $5 for a loaf of bread. They didn't change anything in the recipe, did they? No. But the bread is what, because when was it? Wasn't bread like $6 a loaf? It was
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
crazy at one point. So yeah, I think just kind of understanding how businesses operate, that would shed a lot of light, to like residents, people paying rent. But again, they don't need to know all of that
Right.
stuff. But again, I think just having the mindset of how a business runs, when you understand that a little bit better, it makes a little bit more sense. But you know what? When I see stuff like that, we get it. I get it too. We all do when it's time for renewals. Most likely people are going to get an increase. And, some people, they can afford it. Some people can't. Those are just the facts. But I think where a difference can be made is us as the staff, and that's everybody that helps to run the property. We make the difference, when it's renewal time, because people can look back and be like, okay, yeah, my rent's going up, but every time I need my light bulb changed, Mr. John, he's there within 12
Mm-hmm.
hours changing my light bulb. So then you got to think about what value do you put on something like that. So yeah, it's easy to make those comments, but I think if people just really sit back and have like a real conversation, it makes sense. And I hate to say it, but it's the world we live in. Bread is $5 a loaf of bread, and I love bread, so I'm gonna keep eating my bread. I'm gonna keep eating my bread.
That was such a good analogy. Such a good analogy. Because you are absolutely right. That bread hasn't changed, but that price is going up, right? Like everything
And I love
else.
bread, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna keep eating my bread. I
Right.
love bread.
Right.
Yes.
Or you may find a different brand, if
Mhm.
possible, that, fits the
Mhm.
budget that you're in, you know. But
Or you may learn to bake bread. There you go. Bake your
oh,
own bread.
yes, yes, yes. That's called a mortgage, ladies and gentlemen. You can learn to bake your own bread. That is another great point. I love it. I love it because, we can get into a negative thing about everything, especially when things aren't going right, especially if you're not happy where you're living and that sort of thing.
Right.
But, like you said, you know, the relationship doesn't start at the renewal. It starts, when you show them that apartment, right? So that
Right.
relationship has already started. So you're already, building relationship. You're making sure that residents taken care of, and you're
Right.
answering that email and sending it back, you know
Mm.
what I mean, when you were crazy
Mhm.
busy, and you're going out of your way to do all these things. But I think,
Right.
for our flies on the wall, understanding that those who are in property management, these are people who are a lot of times residents too. And they're going through the
Yeah.
same things, just like Tiffany just said. So take a step back and say, hey, am I getting, value here? You know what I mean? What other value am I
Yeah.
getting? It's not just a
Yeah.
new sink or a new fridge or whatever,
Right.
but there's other
Yeah, because I
things.
can't control the prices all the time, but I can control how I interact with you and what type of relationship we have. So I have 100% control over that.
That's great. Oh, that's good. That is so good. Man, well, I tell you what, Tiffany, this has been such a pleasure. It's always good talking to you. You
Thank
always
you.
have a wealth of information in such a great way to say it. So thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you.
much for being on By the Fifth. Ladies and
Mhm.
gentlemen, you have been listening to By the Fifth podcast with our guest, Tiffany Flowers, and hopefully you got something out of this. Stay positive and just believe, and you'll never know, man. Things will work out for you, all right? So don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend, and if you're over there on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a review, all right? Have a good day. God bless. The name is Trent, Roger Trent, but you can call me Tico. What's up?